My bike usually stalls when I come to a stop, and it has to do with the clutch positioning sensor or switch. So I'm going to take off the handguard. It's two 10mm nuts. I like using a bowl that's got a huge magnet at the bottom so I don't lose anything.
After you take out the bolt, you'll want to loosen the lock nut on the clutch cable and then slide the handguard forward towards the front tire to remove it. Once that's done, put it in a place that's safe so you don't lose any parts for reassembly after. Now to remove the positioning sensor.
There's two Phillips screws holding the sensor in place. They're fairly small, so make sure you don't lose them.
That's where having a magnetic bowl is very handy, or if you don't have one of those handy, you can simply use a piece of cardboard and punch the screws through the cardboard so they don't go anywhere. And it also gives you a nice surface to ride on for you to take notes and be sure to put everything back the way it came off.
Okay, so down here there's a 10mm bolt that holds your mirror assembly together. I loosened it so I can move it back and make it a lot easier to work on the under part. This here with the copper connector came out of here, but I'm going to take it all apart and clean it, re-grease it, and hopefully the spring in there was pretty caked, so it was making the connection hard.
Once you take it out, clean it with some WD-40. You should be left with three pieces: a plastic piece, the copper cap, and the spring. The spring goes back on the center rod, and the copper cap locks everything in place on the center rod with the plastic piece. Since everything's apart, it's perfect time to lube and clean everything on your clutch assembly, including your choke cable. Once you have that done, make sure to remove your clutch lever out and clean the inside of your clutch holder. Once it's cleaned, you'll need to re-grease it as well so that everything is nice and smooth for operation after. Luckily for me, everything was in good shape, but if there's anything defective when you do this, please replace with brand new parts.
So I cleaned everything out. This is the brass connector that's gonna go back in. Sorry for my dirty hands. And that's the two brass connectors for your clutch safety switch. So when you press the lever, this is inside. When you press the lever, it's just making contact with it like this, sliding back and forth. That's why you can only start it when the clutch is all the way in. So when it's all the way in, it slides over, makes contact, and then your starter gets it closes the circuit and your starter starts. Or you can bypass the whole system and just not have the clutch safety switch on your motorcycle. So I'm putting everything back together. I cleaned everything that had to do with the clutch lever. So inside where the bolt attaches the cable, lubed everything, and then Summer and I lubed inside the cable assembly as well. So while I was leaning the bike over on its side, Summer sprayed WD-40 inside the cable casing so that I could lube it and clean it at the same time. So now time for reassembly. You put everything back the same way you took it off.
And make sure you lube this really good.
I said that. Make sure you reapply grease on your clutch lever. When you put it back in, it'll be good as new after. This piece with the brass adapter goes back in here. So show in the lever so that it shows the square in it. See the square, you line it up and push that piece in.
I put a bit of grease on the end so that it wouldn't come back out when I put the mirror and clutch assembly back to level. Just wipe the excess grease off and you're good to go after.
So you put the wire back in. And the protective casing back on top. And the screws back in.
Once you're done with the reassembly of the sensor, you're pretty much done. Make sure you grease that bolt back up, put the handguard back on, redo the lock nut on the clutch cable, and you are finished. So far I've put on a few hours on the bike and I haven't had any stalling due to the sensor any longer. Hope this helped. Thanks for watching and we'll see you in the next one.